Dixon County Commission regular meeting to order for October 17th, 2024. Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll just make an announcement. I'll be leaving here about 10 after. I've got a CAB meeting. I wouldn't normally leave, but it's going to be the last one I attend. So I will be leaving at 10 after. Approval of the agenda is printed with no additions. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda. Minutes of the October 10th meeting. Expenditures of $436,522.64. SD security wire payment of $4,617.00. Utility wire payment of $10,271.49. Credit card wire of $23,802.62. And hand checks of $1,563.68.
I move to print for the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Commissioner comments and committee reports. Lynn?
About the only thing I'll mention is I probably am receiving more comments now in regards to the planning board and zoning meeting that's coming up, and receiving quite a few comments. And you know, if it's just merely passing at a grocery store or in the street or whatever, I mean, it's on people's mind, and I know it's very serious. And I continue to read and review some of the information that we've received. So I know this one is extremely tough because there's friends, there's relatives, there's neighbors, and not everybody's in agreement. And it's not one of those compromise type situations. It's one or the other. So you know, I think we need to be considerate of each other, but also I know there's a great need to get information out, and it's much public discussion going on. So I appreciate the comments I do receive.
Thank you, Lynn. Ron?
I did spend Monday with the staff development day training here at Dickinson County. And I say that it's really nice to be able to see all the employees that work for Dickinson County and the work they do for us. And it's very appreciative. And you know, it's not every day you can find help today. And so we want to make sure we take good care of our employees and thank them for what they do and support them. It's a wonderful thing. It's a big job. I also spent quite a bit of time yesterday at Marion County for the Juvenile Detention Center to review their detention center, go over that, and then spend some time with about 13 other commissioners on issues of the detention center. And what we're finding out is getting tougher financially. The costs are going up quite a bit, uncontrollable costs, and that's making it very, very difficult to show a good and positive sign at the end of the year. So we want to be very cautious of that. So that's all I have.
Ron, I will piggyback on that. I appreciate Marcia's work she done for Ann, Janelle, and anybody else was involved. I was disappointed Casey Wood couldn't be there, but the gentleman from the Sheriff's Department put an excellent demonstration on of stuff we shouldn't have to deal with. Also in our work session, Chancey Smith, our emergency managing director, gave me his report. He's been elected president-elect of their association. Janelle went over the process of closing the bridge down at 1100 Avenue, Union Road. And Marcia also went over the health insurance that we're changing for. Any other comments, commissioners?
No comments.
Petitions and proclamations, we have none. Public comments, Janelle?
Rules for the public comment. For the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During the regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. State your name and address, please. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address, and I agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Public comments. Anybody in the audience? And don't, I won't be rude. Don't think I'm rude if I leave during the middle of it.
Okay, I'm how fast I want.
So you don't have to talk.
He's leaving at 11:10 though.
Yeah.
I got just a little bit of time. I'm Marla Rife, 1376 Key Road. I'm actually going to share the emails I have from my cousins who are landowners in Dickinson County, but they are absentee landowners. And they were unaware of the windmill project until recently when the letters went out, despite the fact that the locals have known that there were contracts being signed back as far as 2015. This is from Judy Strunk Bowser and her husband, Tom. Please accept this letter as our opposition statement to the wind farms in Dickinson County, Kansas, and our support of the environment. Our reasons are first and foremost aesthetic. Wind turbines are a permanent defacement of the Kansas prairie. They are ugly and ever present. They scar our landscape, and any suggestion that wind farms are environmentally friendly is a false spin. These visual monstrosities require permanent roads through our beautiful fields and pastures for both construction and maintenance. Unlike the people who will build them, these towers will never go away. In addition to killing our vistas, these machines will kill live wildlife, including local birds, songbirds, waterfowl that travel through our treasured flyways. The towers are loud, they're noisy, they interrupt the peace and quiet, which is a staple of our rural lifestyle. If one of these gargantuan machines needs replacement, they are too big for even our largest landfills. We are very concerned about climate change and advocate for clean energy. However, the wind farms exact too great a toll on landscape and defeat the purpose of saving our environment. Should longtime Kansas landowners make such an indelible sacrifice for a multinational company based in Italy? Sincerely, Judy Strunk and Tom Bowser, Dickinson County landowners. And then from another cousin who was actually gone, he says, "Hi, Marla, I hope this is not too late. We're out of town on vacation and I can't figure out how to edit the Word file on my phone. So I'm hoping you can take this information below forward to the Dickinson County Commissioners. Our family owns land in Dickinson County and we support the opposition to the wind farms expressed in the letter from Judy and Tom Bowser. Thanks for recording our opposition, Chris and Kate Glatt." And Chris is Paul and Ruth Glatt's son. He's a retired engineer and they have property over north of Enterprise on the river bottom. So thank you.
I'm gonna be leaving, so I'm not in deference to you, Larry.
I went to college graduation with my sister, but I don't.
So since Craig is leaving and we still have called the meeting to order, so it's still part of an ongoing meeting. And as long as we have two here, we do have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and continue this portion of the meeting without Craig. And we are in the midst of public comment. So if there's anyone from the audience that would want to come up, then please state your name and address. And Janelle's already covered the guidelines. And then go ahead and come up, and then we'll, if there's anyone online too, there'll be opportunity for comment.
Larry Hotman, 1426 1800 Avenue. And I would like to thank the commissioners for listening to us today. And Jeannie, thank you for your devoted help, especially with our townships.
You're welcome.
And Janelle, we all had to go through a crying session a week ago. Anyway, I would like to talk about the economic effect that the wind project will have to our community, to the county, and the townships in the footprint of the wind towers. This will be in 10 years, a great economic boom to our township budgets. We learned that with the Trans-Canada Pipeline, that we were able to keep our mill levies steady. I haven't had to raise them just because of that. And so in 10 years, I won't be around doing this anymore, but it'll be a great boom for the townships. And the farmers who live in the area of the footprint. I don't remember whether it's a senator or a representative, Josh Slotty from the Ellsworth area. He spoke at the planning commission meeting, and he said to the equipment places in Ellsworth that they just boomed from the farmers who were receiving money from the wind towers. They had money to spend on equipment. So I think that's another good plus. And as far as the Italians being the parent company, I guess you would call it, of the wind towers in the project, a good share of our automobiles are built by foreign people and owned by foreign companies. So this is nothing new to us. And for these reasons, I very much support the windmill project. Thank you.
Okay, are there others present or others online that would want to make a comment? And we have 3 minutes is what our time frame is on that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ira Lee Bedard, 962 300 Avenue, Hope. And I don't think this is really all about money. For me, weather is an extremely important issue. Turbines block radar and interfere with weather forecast information. Storms are getting stronger and stronger. Human lives are at risk. We don't need turning blades. We need reliable weather forecasts. Wildlife is also at risk. Dickinson County is in part of an important flyway. Many billions of birds of all kinds migrate through here for 4 months, both in the spring and in the fall. Cornell Lab of Ornithology shows these migrations in real time, and it's really fascinating to see. The variety and number of species is dazzling. The number of birds passing in our county during just the last week is over 10 million. Many of the birds pass from Milford Reservoir to the lakes at Harrington and on to Marion Reservoir. These stopover points are especially dangerous when birds descend when they're landing and when they take off. Tall spinning blades kill an untold number of birds each year. My husband and I enjoy seeing many kinds of ducks, herons, geese, and other kinds of birds that stop over at our ponds. And they come during these migrations. We hope this continues, but we feel that these birds are in danger. We have seen fewer in recent years. And we wonder, is this because of the turbines in Tampa? Aesthetics isn't always mentioned. The feel and the pleasure we get from our surroundings, from living in the country with wide open views, able to enjoy quiet evenings and a beautiful sunset. An old 1969 Joni Mitchell song says, "They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone?" Let's don't make that mistake, please. It's not all about money. I request a ban on wind turbines in Dickinson County, or at the very least, a 5-year moratorium. Thank you. Oh, and I have some handouts here for you. And on the back, it shows you each day in the past week, the number of birds that pass through. It really varies, and I think it has a lot to do with the weather and the wind.
I know Janelle will be able to make a copy of that for Craig.
Oh, hey,
So,
some here.
well, and she'll do a copy. That's fine.
I'll do a copy. That's no problem.
Are there others in the audience or anyone online?
My name is Dan Rife, 1372 Key Road. I apologize, I'm not dressed very well, but some of us have to work for a living. I'm here, you know, and everybody in this room knows that the final decision on this and responsibility is going to come down to you three commissioners. And I think you have to ask yourself, where does my responsibility to this county lie? Is it with a handful of people who will profit directly from this, or is it to the rest of the county? And I fail to see how somebody living in industry is going to benefit from wind farm project in southern Dickinson County. And you also have to ask, do I have a responsibility to a foreign-owned company known to sell wind assets to the Chinese government? We're 40 miles from Fort Riley. We are basically 50 or a little over from the biolab in Manhattan. And I think that would put a real good selling price to certain countries and certain other people on that wind energy project. But you are going to have to ask yourselves, will I, by saying yes or no to this, am I hurting the morale or hurting the people in the county? Some who have lived here for years and paid taxes all their lifetime to Dickinson County and who have put their children through school here and supported the schools, athletic teams. Do I take that, do I put that responsibility, assume that responsibility for a handful of dollars for people? And I think there are just other ways of financing. I understand everybody needs money. I do too. But I think this, by accepting this and going ahead with this project, is the wrong way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a few people online, and if they did want to comment, they can indicate online.
Nobody has their hand raised right now.
So we have no additional comments on that at this particular time. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to move on to the reports of county officers. First, we have on the agenda County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf.
Commissioners, APAC has started the road maintenance on 14th and Van Buren. They started that yesterday. The hope is that they will get it completed by tomorrow. And if you recall, this is to repair the roads, widen them. Then we'll have a paint striper come in later this year and repaint the lines on that. I can tell you that some of the trees that have been cleared on the south side, but on the north side of the view, The sight lines are, it's so much better than it was before. So that's been a good project that we're working on. So the clerk's office will be open for, I'm sorry, you're probably going to cover it, but I'll say it. Clerk's office will be open for advance voting through 7 PM on October 22nd. And then they'll be open on October 26th, which is a Saturday from 9 to 12. So you can come in and vote. The emergency manager and our environmental services director will be attending a class on proper disposal of batteries. If you recall last year, I believe it was last year, we had to have a fire out there because of the ion batteries that were disposed of improperly. So we're going to take some additional precaution and attend some classes to see how we can mitigate some of those things. We do have an open position in dispatch and in environmental services. The health department is continuing to provide flu shots at the schools and at the health department. So contact them if you'd like to have a flu shot. The highway department is continuing to replace the bridge at Oat and 2500 Avenue, probably a few more days on that one. And they are cutting trees on Mink Road just north of I-70. And then they're also finishing up the final mow out of the county roads for the year. So that's all I would have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Ron, or?
No questions, Janelle. Thank you.
We'll go ahead to our county counselor, Doug Thompson.
Thank you. I have to be up in court here in just a couple of minutes to cover for another person. But what I'm working on right now is there's real estate tax sales that we're going to be working on. And there's 42 parcels of real estate that are delinquent. And out of that number, I think 2 may have been paid off, caught up right now. But as soon as I can finish the paperwork that I've got to do, I'm going to get started on this and move forward with the tax foreclosure. And hopefully folks will get those things taken care of. But as soon as I can, I'm going to be on it. That's all I've got. Now I've got to run upstairs. Do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next report will come from our county clerk, Jeannie Livingston.
Yes, I just wanted to give you an update on the elections. We started by sending out ballots yesterday. We sent out 119 permanent advance and 236 single advances. And we started early voting yesterday, and we had 166 walk-in voters yesterday. So we're quite busy. And as Janelle said, we are going to have extended hours on Tuesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. We're open till 7 p.m. And then Saturday, October 26th, will be open from 9 to noon. And I just wanted to remind people that if they wanted to see their sample ballot, they could either go to our website and go to the voter view link, or go to the Secretary of State's website and type it, or go to the voter view link there. You have to type in your last name and your first name and your birthday. That will bring up your sample ballot then.
So just of interest of people, if they happen to come in, approximately about how long will it take and the process they go through to receive the ballot and be able to vote?
Walk in, we ask for their photo ID. We print out an application. They're signing it saying that they're getting their ballot in person. Then we check or give them their ballot, and then they vote it, and then we put it in the ballot box.
Or they do.
Or they do, yeah.
And then that is a secure ballot box, and that vote is not, it's stored but not counted till election night.
Correct.
After 7 p.m.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And I know your clerk's office will be very, very busy from here on out. And I always appreciate, as everything comes through on election night, you're there for quite a few hours working in the office and getting everything taken care of and everything brought in from the various precincts from across the counties. Okay. The next portion we have here is notices and communications. we had a little bit of discussion earlier in our work study session, and I'm not the only one, but there had been some reach out in regards to the landfill policy at the landfill and in regards to lumber demolition. And so Janelle, would you want to just briefly mention what we're looking at and address maybe this concern?
Right. So Commissioners, as you know, we are not a C&D landfill. We are not permitted for that. And we also do not have the ability to take C&D. If somebody has C&D, they need to take it to our neighboring counties. If it is a very small amount, they have taken it, but HAM is the operator that manages the program or manages the transfer station on our behalf. And they are not willing to accept C&D because it is an issue for them. So
And C&D would be?
Construction and demolition. So anything that's tied to that. So we are pursuing matters or pursuing interest in looking at what we would take to become a permitted C&D landfill. Unfortunately, the county years ago purchased a compactor and we crush the trash that comes in and that's hauled off by hams. If you have a C&D, typically it's a pit and you need a large area. So we have to look and see if it fits within the footprint that we have and how we could set something up like that. So it's something that we'll have to plan for. I can tell you if we have to replace that compactor, which is actually at the end of life, it's $1.5 million is an estimate on that. So expanding them to become a C&D is, I can't imagine it's going to be any cheaper than that, but we're going to start that process and see what we're up against for that. And obviously we'll look for grants and funding that maybe we could get from KDHE on that, but.
So we could gather information, but that's something that would not be a quick fix. So it's not something that would say, hey, if we're determined we're going to do this in a month or 2 months, it's not even reasonably possible or with permitting and other things. And it may be too much of a hill to climb as far as even in the short term of 1 to 2 years. But
Right.
Okay. The other thing we did have, and Craig had left me some notices that we've received by mail. We did have one from the county news on their newspaper that they give us. Also, they have a ceremony to honor the Medal of Honor recipient, Captain Retired Larry L. Taylor, and that's going to be November 1st. And that will take place at Fort Riley. And so we have that invitation available. We also received, and this was in regards to the wind turbines and the meeting at Dixon County Planning and Zoning Board. And they're raising the concerns that we've spent more time on research and on that particular issue. And actually, they happen to be in favor of the project. We have another one that we've received that is not in favor of the project and mentioned that they wish that they were here in person and raising the fact that we have 300 signatures in it, more than that actually, of people that are either not in favor or do not see the benefit of having a foreign company have any control or project on our land here. Have another one here that is in favor of that and said that they had studied the lease when they signed it and they believe that it's renewable energy is the way for the future. I have another one saying kind of the same thing, that they're supporting the CUP Hope Ridge Wind Project. We have another one where it's saying the same thing, and then there's another one that is not in favor of it. And sometimes this has kind of happened where we'll receive more letters where it seems like they are not in favor of it, and then the next week and maybe they've noticed that, so there's a surge of the other direction. But And you're going to mention this later in the meeting as far as tonight's meeting.
Right.
So we'll cover that before we adjourn. Okay. Were there other notices or communications that were received that I'm not aware of?
I don't have any.
Okay. We do not have any resolutions to consider this morning. We'll go ahead, and there's no unfinished business. We do have a couple of items under other business. The first one is the renewal of the 2025 health insurance policy. And Marcia, you had given us a report of that in our work study session, but would you go ahead and step forward and give us a summary statement of what that involves and as far as your recommendation?
Marcia Schneider, HR Director. So Blue Cross Blue Shield came back with the lowest quote, and it's an increase to the county of 8%, which we are going to keep the cost to the employees the same, and the county will pick up that additional cost, which we have budgeted. So I recommend that we go ahead and go with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross United Healthcare includes a employee assistance program, EAP. Blue Cross and Blue Shield does not. So our BKD representatives are quoting us, getting us a quote for an EAP program. Based on some preliminary numbers, it's going to cost the county $4,000 to $5,000 a year to have an EAP program. It'd be 6 free sessions to an employee, which I recommend that we go ahead and move forward with that. I provided you earlier with a spreadsheet with the premiums and the costs. Do you have any questions on that?
And I think one of the goals that we had as a commission, but also in your research and preparation, considered the fact not only insurance that you can easily use when you go to a doctor here locally or the hospital or services. But, in this day and age, people do travel. And if they're out of state and other areas, we want something that is recognizable and most likely to be accepted wherever they might have to be if something unforeseen comes up or an emergency.
Right. Yes.
So I mean, great coverage. You don't always just look at what is the very, very least expensive, but the value of it and how it will serve.
And I know if you travel, for instance, out of the country, you can go and get travel insurance. I did it when we were on Blue Cross before. It's called Geo Blue or something like that. And you can get coverage for your trip wherever you go. And they give you a quote. So that's always available to people. But as far as traveling in the United States, my assumption is most hospitals are in network. Like if you had an accident and needed to go to a hospital. And then also in our renewal, last year we went with MASA, which is a air and ground ambulance service. The county has paid that cost. It's $12.50 per employee, which runs about $1,300 a month or just a little less than $16,000 a year. We went ahead and did that because United Healthcare was not in our network with the Dickinson County Health Department. We have that moving forward in 25. If you want to go ahead and keep that benefit to the employees as well, which the county will pay for, that is budgeted for. Obviously, we didn't know the EAP was not included, but we have enough in our budget. We budgeted 10% increase and Blue Cross came in at 8%. So.
And the other bid you had from United was
20%.
20%. So, okay.
Yeah.
All around, just a better move for the county, for the
Yes.
employees and cost wise.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, you're not done yet. Keep talking.
Well,
I'll make a motion to accept the Blue Cross Blue Shield with the EAP and the extended transportation for air and stuff. So, yeah.
okay. And I'll second that motion. And The one thing I was going to just add on about this, not adding to the motion, but just for comment, that's something when we have employees come to Dickinson County and consider us as far as a career opportunity or employment, that's one of the benefits that sometimes we try to let them know that this does have a very suitable and good coverage as far as health insurance that is available, as well as capers. And so that's part of a benefit package that you don't always see on the dollar type salary or wage scale. So it's very important.
Having a good benefit package helps me do my job. It makes it a little easier sometimes, so.
It allows us to attract quality employees to do the work
Be competitive.
and be competitive, yes.
Okay, unless there's other comment, we have the motion, we have the second, that we go ahead and accept this proposal from Blue Cross Blue Shield. And as Ron mentioned, that also would include the part for the ground and airlift alternate that's in there. And that's all within the budget.
Yes.
Any other comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Marcia. Now you can work real hard, and I'm sure there's other things that consume your time. But that's been quite an effort in the last, for this review, and it's an annual type review that we do.
Every year we'll have to do this, and I'm working with them to get our packet together so I can get that out tomorrow, hopefully later today, but it's probably gonna be tomorrow because open enrollment will start on Monday, the 21st, and it goes till Monday, the 4th, November 4th.
Okay.
So, and then our Bucati representatives will be here in the basement on the 23rd and 24th from 10 to 3. So employees have the opportunity to come in and ask some questions. So, okay.
Very good, thank you. The next item we have on the business or for business is approval of the 2025 biennial bridge inspections. Janelle.
Commissioners, we are required to annually inspect bridges or biannually inspect bridges and then annually inspect the fracture critical bridges. And currently we have 287 bridges in the county that fit those requirements. We have contracted with a engineering service and passed it around to at least 3 different engineering firms. And this year it is time for Cobb Valley's chance to provide that service for us. Unfortunately, we are seeing a pretty significant increase, and that increase comes to recent changes that KDOT has required of us, but it affects how we perform the inspections. They went with a third-party web-based software called InspectX that went live this year. So they're using tablets in the field to record all the data and the measurements and the pictures of each bridge site and then uploading them. So there was some additional training, additional investment in hardware and software and in training of the inspectors to do that. So the quote that we received from Cobb Valley is for $88,970 to perform those inspections for this next year. And that is an increase of about, well, last year we were just shy of $29,000. So it is a pretty significant increase. We did budget for that. We planned for that. We knew that this was coming, unfortunately. And I'm unfortunately the bearer of further bad news that the federal government will also have some regulations coming out in 2026. But this is a statutory requirement for the inspection that we have to perform. So my request is that you would approve this quote from Cobb Valley Engineering for annual or biannual bridge inspections.
I move to accept the bid from Cobb Valley.
I'll second it. We have the motion and the second for acceptance of that bid. Is there any other discussion? And this is for the 2025 biennial bridge inspection from Cobb Valley Engineers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So before we adjourn, just a couple of things. I did, and I happened to overlook this. I did have one other letter in opposition And they had requested that I read their letter. And so I'll go ahead and do that at this time because I overlooked it earlier. Commissioners, I am writing to advise you, my husband and I, along with 300 plus people who signed petitions and many other Dickinson County residents who have not signed petitions out of fear of retribution are against industrial wind turbines in our country or our county. There are also many residents of our county who are still not aware of this project and others who think it won't affect them because of their current location. Please read this letter in opposition in full at the commission meeting as you do the letters in support, rather than indicating a letter against was received. Thank you. And it's from Pam and Jesse Wells. And so sometimes we've had a little flexibility. We don't have a set policy. Often when we receive the letters, and some of them are a couple of pages or 3 pages or information. And you know, at times I know previously too, when I was the county chair, sometimes I would say we received letters that were in opposition. We received some that were for. Occasionally, you know, I've taken liberty to mention names. A few times people have come back later and said, well, you didn't mention someone else's name, so why did you mention mine? And, you know, we aren't trying to put anyone in adverse light or a better light than the other. But it wasn't really a definite policy on that. But since they did request that I read their letter and it was reasonably brief and to the point, I wanted to include that.
The other thing I would note with that, Lynn, is all of the correspondence that you receive as commissioners go into the record that you have received it, and it is kept. So we have a record of those.
And the phone calls, we also get called in personally. We relay them directly to you.
Right.
Okay, so I'll go ahead, Janelle, and have you cover this part as far as future meetings and agenda items. And especially since the one meeting is tonight, you might mention more than just that it is tonight on the PBC public hearing.
So commissioners, the Planning and Zoning Board extended the meeting to tonight to hear additional public comments, and those comments will be accepted from people that did not have the opportunity to speak last week that live within the footprint. We're not going to hear from people that live outside of the footprint or outside of the county. It starts at 4 p.m. at the Harrington Community Center. And then the Planning and Zoning Board will have their opportunity to review the staff report, ask questions of the applicant. This is the Planning and Zoning Board's meeting, and the public will need to address comments to the Planning and Zoning Board. So we'll start that process, and then they will have their discussion, and we'll see if they make a recommendation to send it to you in either for or against, or if there's any recommendations for conditions on that CUP. The other thing is you have a Regional County Commission fall meeting. It's going to be Monday, October 21st in Council Grove. And I'll put together some remarks of things that are going on in this county. And that's the opportunity for, there's 10 counties, I believe, that we get together with the commissioners. We'll see what's going on in each of the counties where we can maybe share resources or have discussion that these are things that we've seen, or what advice would you give on this? It's just a good networking time for the commissioners and staff to visit with one another. And then we have the North Central Regional Planning Biennial Banquet on October 24th in Salina on Thursday as well. So we'll plan on attending that meeting.
Okay, and I'm going to mention on the meeting tonight, I have had a couple of people ask me, and, you know, I think sometimes people, I mean, they understand parliamentary procedure and they understand they've been in various groups or so on, but they don't follow us or something like this closely. And so, I mean, it's always good to ask a question. And I had, you know, actually it's come up a couple of times. They wanted to know, as county administrator, if you could vote or make the motion, or Tim Hamilton and so on. And the county people like Janelle are there to answer questions and also to observe. But the members, the 7 members of the planning board and zoning are the ones that would vote on this. They are the ones that would have to come within that group to make a motion and a second for approval or denial or whatever the recommendation is, or for more information. So they do have the ability at tonight's meeting, they could make a motion to move this to the next step. Or if they feel they need more information, it's their call, it's their meeting. And so they would, they would have something take place. If they give a recommendation or something for denial at tonight's meeting, it still would come to the county commission where the three of us would give consideration to what they've recommended, whichever way it is. And the discussion procedurally is we would not necessarily do that the very, very next week. We kind of want to give opportunity for people to hear, comment, and digest or.
By statute, there's 14 days between the planning and zoning board meeting and then the county commission for a protest petition to be put together. That's why it'll be 14 days before you would hear it at minimum. Yeah.
But since it is a Thursday night, so that would be kind of the extension would be either 2 weeks or the next week, unless we held a special meeting.
Right.
And there also has been discussion that we would use a larger facility than what we have right here.
But the planning and zoning board's role that you have appointed them to is to consider land use applications based on our zoning regulations.
Okay, so that's all we have. I'll go ahead and move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second it.
We have the motion, we have the second for adjournment. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.